Oh, I wanted to start this off with Mes chers frères et sœurs, bonjour. Good morning, everyone. We have a large audience here for whom English is a second language, so I want to be mindful to speak a bit more slowly. This is a very special part of Canada for my husband Derek and I. Just a few minutes away, 48 years ago, we fell in love. And in 1977, we attended our first Urantia conference here at a children's camp, just another few minutes away. And I was fortunate a couple days ago to meet Conrad Lavallee, who remembers us at that camp, and we reminisced about sleeping on the floor through the night and translating back into English and French. And in the morning, we discovered the artist's impressions of the master universe. And for me, I finally got it. I couldn't get it from the words. The pictures helped me get a sense of the cosmos. Well, and another thing, in 1992, with many of you who are here today, we worked and planned and executed a fantastic conference, international conference in St. Hyacinthe. I'm sure many of you remember that because there were over 1,200 readers who attended that conference. So this really is a special part of the world for us, and we're very glad to be back. Our conference theme this morning is service, and it's not an understatement to say that service is an epic topic. And so I gave my little talk this morning the title, Heroic Lives, Living a Life of Loving Service. This is a very accomplished audience, and I think that title is appropriate. And although I've been involved in service most of my life, I'm an ordinary person and have come to understand that we are all servants, that we are all here to serve one another. And we know that service is the most important part of the spiritual life. It's how we live, it's how we learn, and it's how we grow our souls. And for those willing to serve, who desire to do the will of God, who yearn to flood the world with God's love, God does extraordinary things through ordinary people. I've worked with remarkably intelligent people, visionary people, hardworking people, humble and loving people, and certainly with many incredibly loyal Urantians. I've witnessed their faithfulness, their creativity and spiritual growth, and year after year, I've seen their dedication up close and personal. And today, I'm celebrating with you the heroic life that service holds for each of us. What do I mean by heroic? When I think of a hero, I think of my dad, who at age 22 saved the lives of 11 RCAF servicemen during World War II. During a nighttime air raid over Nazi Germany, their plane was hit. The pilots were killed and the instruments were knocked out. My dad made his way from the back of the plane to take charge at the tender age of 22. He kept the plane in the air through the night, navigating visually until dawn broke. And suddenly, the white cliffs of Dover appeared, and he was able to land the plane safely. He was quick thinking and courageous, and I believe had superhuman help. He was awarded the Conspicuous Gallantry Medal, but he never could be persuaded to talk about it. We only knew about this through newspaper clippings. But for the rest of his short life, my dad had a heroic attitude. He was the first responder in many emergencies, and he always acted in some positive way when facing circumstances of great human need, especially involving kids. Nobody compels us to serve. We volunteer to take action. The spirit of the volunteer is a desire to help save the situation, to do good. Service is the most thrilling and satisfying experience we human beings can ever have. There are many difficulties in this life, many struggles, lots of pain. But service is not one of them. Service is a joy. Those blessed with joy know joy is love given and love received. Joy is a dynamic sharing. There is great joy in the sharing of our humanity when orchestrated by God and inspired by our own free choice. Service takes many forms: charitable service, social service, public service, civil service, military service, and religious service, family service, service in the fields of education, medicine, research, the environment, just to name a few. For many, it is an ethical way to earn a living. Many are paid or compensated for their service, which both helps to manage and to advance society. Jesus said, "The hope of a better nation or a better world is bound up in the progress and enlightenment of the individual." All service is important and benefits our world. But today, I'm talking specifically about loving service in any difficult human situation. Loving service is personal obedience to God's command to love one another, even as I have loved you. It's a command because it's so essential to our soul's well-being and progress. It's a private partnership between us and God, a relationship of sacred trust. We decide to leave our comfort zone and with a good intention to help make things right in the world, we move forward with unknown risks when Jesus reminds us to fear not. God the Father loves us unconditionally, but God the Supreme asks us to do something. We must take action to serve. Love is service in action. The universe depends on us for progressive evolution, but we participate knowing we are not alone. Our thought adjusters, the spirit of truth, and the vast spiritual and mindful forces of our amazing Mother Spirit provide guidance and support. We are never alone. The active sharing of divine love with others on any level of life is the premier command from the very heart of God. However, it's not meant to personally profit ourselves or advance our material circumstances. We serve others because it is the will of God. And somewhere down the road, when we may have forgotten any good we might have done, we are blessed with spiritual insight and the realization, well, yes, I guess I have grown, and we're the happier for it. But what are the motivations for loving service? What gives us the energy to serve? These are very important questions. Beyond a heroic attitude, I think there are three motives that are key, and they've been talked about a lot this week. The first is gratitude. The second is compassion. And the third is forgiveness. So let's just look at gratitude. Feelings of gratitude give us the determination to persist through personal trials and tribulations, and to remain loyal to living the spiritual life. That loyalty is the substance of growing cosmic stamina, which is essential to our continuing survival. We learn through both our minds and our hearts how much God has given us. It takes much life experience to really grasp the stupendous gift of the fifth epical revelation, and that is a gift that keeps on giving. Who could say enough about the epical truths that we would be so hard-pressed to now live without? So many have exclaimed, "The Urantia book saved my life." Consider this. The book gives us an unprecedented framework for logically understanding reality and the universe career. It gives us assurances of how valued and irreplaceable each person is in the cosmic scheme. It introduces us to other beings who work tirelessly on our behalf, and to spiritual forces and mind attributes that manifest and manipulate the material world. It gives us a thrilling, at times eyewitness account of the life of Jesus and his journey to win universe sovereignty. It gives us the knowledge of the universal bestowal of thought adjusters and the mandate to serve all people as our brothers and sisters. And most boldly, it takes us back in history when the time-space universes were only a thought in the Father's plan. The thought, word, and deed of the Paradise Trinity and the Paradise manifestation of 1 billion perfect worlds is the infinite pattern for all creation, a pattern with no beginning and no end that depends entirely on loving service. All true love comes from God and is coordinated by this triune nature, and through this pattern, God breathes his perfect love into evolving creature life. A pattern is meant to be copied, and so loving service becomes the way of life for all beings on all worlds and in all universes. The Creator partners with his creatures to serve, and this co-creative expression of the Paradise pattern is the evolving supreme. And as long as there is life, the opportunities for loving service will never end. And Melchizedek asks, "What is loyalty?" and answers, "It is the fruit of an intelligent appreciation of universe brotherhood. One could not take so much and give nothing." It's out of gratitude that we give back to God, who has given us so much, even the certainty of eternal life. Another key motive for loving service is compassion. Compassion is a sympathetic expression of solidarity with the interests and feelings of others. Thanks to today's global communications, organizational development, and international diplomacy, the expression of compassion on a worldwide scale has more potential for harmonizing common goals than at any other time in history. Just prior to discovering the Urantia book in the 70s, I read Malcolm Muggeridge's book, Something Beautiful for God. This was the story of Mother Teresa and her mercy ministry to the poorest of the poor in the slums of Calcutta. Until that time, no book had inspired me more. And after reading it, I too burned with a desire to do something beautiful for God. The most valuable teaching of the Urantia book for me is that human beings are each loved by God as if no other existed. To do something beautiful for God is to express compassion for those who suffer deprivation, impoverishment, and injustice through no fault of their own. The largest percentage of this group in the world would be the 2 billion women and children who have no access to education. It takes compassion, knowledge, and skill to alleviate suffering. And it has been my privilege and good fortune to partner with extraordinarily talented Urantians to offer education to forgotten people, the most unfortunate forgotten people in India, northern Thailand, and Bangladesh. Our partnership has been made possible by the shared teachings of the Urantia book. In addition, would be impossible to implement if we did not have the internet, which facilitates our mutual communication from any place in the world and at any time. Thanks to Kathleen Swadling, who introduced me to Mark Bloomfield, who introduced me to Sister Mary Crescents, once Mother General of the Sisters of the Sacred Heart in Bihar, and once a good friend of Mother Teresa's. Derek and I founded Free Schools World Literacy in 2005 as a registered charity in Canada. Eventually, Free Schools USA and Free Schools Australia were formed, and together, these 3 independent but coordinate charities, led by capable and devoted field partners, and supported by incredible donors, mainly Urantians, we have educated over 24,000 children and women. Literacy empowers, and global literacy will not only uplift millions around the world, but it will make the 5th epical revelation more accessible in different cultures in the future. Finally, the motivation of forgiveness. Forgiveness sustains our relationships, without which a life of loving service isn't even possible. God's sharing and caring for us is centered in His unfailing forgiveness. Forgiveness is a personal free will choice that empowers imperfect beings to discover how to love one another. The decision to forgive even the unforgivable, gives us the capacity to know and receive grace. Grace is that powerful, personal experience of the love of God in us that is capable of transcending anything. When under grace, we have an unconditional love for all people at all times. Under grace, we maintain good relations with all in order to bring the pattern of progress into our world that will eventually result in a civilization of light and life. There are so many wonderful people across our planet who want to serve their community and their country. Many people of faith struggle desperately to serve the human cause freely, without recognition or material reward. They want to spread goodness. They have thought adjusters, and the responsibilities they accept are arduous and lifelong. There is a lot of suffering. But almost all of the people who struggle for social justice in the developing world need partners for spiritual encouragement and material support. These leaders are our brothers and sisters, and as the family of God, we can draw close to them and help them reach their goals of service. Demonstrating solidarity with suffering people across the world makes the ideal of the brotherhood and sisterhood of the human family real in our personal experience. How many times have we heard that progress is the watchword of the universe? There are great injustices that need to be set right on Urantia before real progress can occur. We have many opportunities to educate ourselves about our world and our place in it. We have an amazing book to help us understand the world's history and challenges, how to live with our differences, how to be mindful of the needs of others, how to leave the world a better place. Jesus said, "My peace I leave with you." I believe that we can broker peace in every human relationship. I think it's important to continually remind ourselves, unto whom much has been given, much will be required. As Urantia book readers, we must never, never forget how lucky we are. There is nothing like the Urantia book. And we have extraordinary opportunities for loving service in every aspect of our lives. Thank you. Thank you for all the wonderful things that you already do. But perhaps we could leave this conference with the intention of doing something more for God, something heroic, something that could build a legacy of loving service on Urantia that honors all those who labored before us. Something that would make Michael of Nebadon and our Universe Mother Spirit proud. What do you say? Are you up for this? All right, here's what I say. But I'm borrowing from Derek, who borrowed from Vern Grimsley many years ago, this sweet quote. "A bell's not a bell till you ring it. A song's not a song till you sing it. And love isn't love until you give it away." Thank you.